I have to be honest with you. When I first started reading the stack of research for today's deep dive, I actually got a little annoyed.
Annoyed. That is not the usual reaction. You're usually pretty excited to learn something new. What triggered you this time?
Well, we're looking at material from the Creators Lab, specifically their deep dive into pricing and value. And they start with this premise that feels, well, it feels a bit like victim blaming at first glance.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's basically this wake-up call for every freelancer, consultant, or creative who feels like they aren't making enough money, and it kind of points the finger right back at them.
I can definitely see why that would bristle a bit.
Yeah.
Nobody likes being told that their empty bank account is their own fault.
Exactly. Because the usual narrative is, the economy is tough, or clients are cheap, or the market is just oversaturated right now.
Right. It's always an external factor.
Right. But this research suggests that if you feel like you aren't earning enough for the value you provide, the problem isn't the market. The problem is actually your strategy.
It is a very provocative opening, I agree. But once you get past that initial sting, the distinction they make is actually incredibly liberating
Liberating. How so?
because it centers on the difference between being underpaid and being underpriced.
And I want to pause right there because when I first saw those two words in the brief, I thought, okay, we're just playing word games here.
It sounds like semantics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Underpaid, underpriced, the result is exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
I can't pay my rent. But as I kept reading, I realized the distinction is actually structural.
It is absolutely structural, and
Mhm.
understanding that difference is literally the only way to fix the problem. If you diagnose yourself as underpaid when you are actually underpriced, you will try to solve the problem by just working harder.
Which just leads to burnout.
Exactly. Total burnout.
So let's unpack this for you listening. We have a lot to get through today. We need to talk about the psychology of pricing, which is honestly way weirder than I thought. And we need to look at why lowering your rates to quote unquote get the gig is actually destroying your business. Plus, we need to do some math on why losing clients might actually be a very good thing.
I'm very much looking forward to the math portion.
I knew you would be. But let's start with those definitions. Underpaid versus underpriced. Break that down for us.
So, according to the source material, underpaid is fundamentally a demand issue. It means that the people you are selling to, your current market, simply do not value the work you are doing.
Okay, so this is like if I'm trying to sell premium handcrafted fountain pens to a group of college students who only take notes on their iPads.
Exactly that. It doesn't matter how beautiful the pen is, doesn't matter how fair your price is. The utility just isn't there for that specific buyer.
Right.
If you are truly underpaid, it means you are in the wrong market, or you are selling an obsolete product.
And the really hard truth there is that no amount of marketing magic or pricing strategy fixes that. You basically have to change what you sell or change who you sell it to.
Correct. You have to pivot. But underpriced is a completely different beast. And the research suggests this is actually where the vast majority of talented professionals are stuck.
Okay.
Being underpriced means the value is there, the market wants it, they have the money, but you are signaling the wrong value to them.
Signaling. That word came up like a dozen times in the reading. It sounds a bit like marketing jargon. What does it actually mean in this specific context?
Think of pricing not as a math equation based on your hourly costs, but as a communication tool.
A communication tool.
Yes, that is the core thesis here. Your price tag is a message. It is a signal to the buyer.
So by having a low price, I'm sending a specific message.
You absolutely are. If you are underpriced, you are essentially looking the client in the eye and telling them, this isn't worth very much.
See, that is where my brain gets skeptical because as a consumer, I love a deal.
Right.
If I see a nice TV on sale for 50% off, I don't think, oh, this TV must be garbage. I think, score, I'm saving money.
Right.
Why doesn't that consumer logic apply here?
Because that logic only works for commodities. Identical goods.
Okay.
A Sony TV is a Sony TV, whether you buy it at Best Buy or Walmart or Amazon. The product is fixed. But when we talk about services, expertise, or creative work, we are entering the realm of what economists call credence goods.
Credence goods. Okay, define that for us.
It means the buyer cannot easily evaluate the quality of the thing just by looking at it. They have to trust the seller. They have to believe in the expertise. And in that environment of uncertainty, price becomes a proxy for quality.
Okay, I see where you're going now. This is the behavioral economics stuff.
It is. The source references the famous wine experiments. You know the ones.
I think so. Is that the one where they swap the labels on the bottles?
Exactly. Researchers took the exact same wine, poured it into two different bottles. They told the participants one was priced at $10 and the other was priced at $90.
And people said the $90 one tasted better,
Yeah,
right?
they did.
Yeah.
But it goes deeper than just saying it. MRI scans showed that the actual pleasure centers in their brains lit up more when they drank the expensive wine.
Wait, really? So they didn't just say they liked it more to look fancy for the researchers. They actually physically experienced it as better purely because of the price tag?
Correct. The price framed their biological experience. Now apply that to your work. If you are a consultant or a designer or a coach, if you price yourself at the absolute bottom of the barrel, you are priming your client to expect a discount experience.
That is wild. So by trying to be accessible or trying to be fair, we might actually be degrading the client's experience of our work before we even start the project.
Precisely. The source calls this the uncertainty gap. Low prices signal uncertainty. High prices signal confidence and authority.
It's the difference between a discount surgeon and a premium surgeon. If I'm getting brain surgery, I do not want the guy with the buy one, get one free coupon.
Yeah. Exactly. You want the one who charges a fortune, because you assume that means they are the absolute best in their field. The source argues that by pricing low, you are forcing the client to overcome a suspicion barrier.
A suspicion barrier.
Yes. They have to actively convince themselves that despite your low price, you might actually be good at what you do.
Which is an exhausting way to start a working relationship. You're starting from a massive deficit of trust.
Versus pricing high, where you start with a surplus of authority.
Okay, so the logic is completely sound. I buy it. High price equals high perceived value. But let's be real here. Knowing this intellectually and acting on it are two very different things, because when you're sitting at your laptop, drafting that proposal email, and you type in that higher number, you physically feel sick.
Oh, absolutely. It's visceral. It's terrifying.
So why is it so incredibly hard to do? The research broke this down into the 3 fears, and I think we really need to go through these because I definitely recognize myself in them.
I think everyone does, even seasoned professionals. The first one is the most primal, the fear of rejection.
Yeah, because this isn't just business. It feels deeply personal.
It does. We are social animals at our core. We want to be accepted.
Yeah.
When you name a price and someone says no, it triggers the exact same part of the human brain as physical pain. We feel like we aren't good enough.
So to avoid that physical and emotional pain, we lower the price just to get the yes. We are basically buying their acceptance with a discount.
That is a great way to put it. It's an emotional tax we pay to avoid rejection.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the second fear, the fear of scarcity.
Okay.
This is the idea that some money is always better than no money.
See, this is the one I really struggle with because logically it makes sense. If I charge $5,000, I might lose the gig entirely. If I charge $2,000, I secure the bag, and $2,000 pays the grocery bill. 0 does not.
That is the intuition. That is how our survival brain works.
Yeah.
But let's look at the math the source provides, because this is where the deep dive aspect really pays off.
Okay, yes. Hit me with the numbers. Let's do the math.
Let's say you are currently charging $1,000 for a service, and you have 10 clients.
Okay, so that's $10,000 in revenue.
Right. And you are working your tail off to manage 10 different people.
10 email threads, 10 Zoom calls a week, 10 sets of revisions. It's a lot of management.
Now, let's say you double your price to $2,000. And let's assume the absolute worst-case scenario that your fear tells you will happen. You lose half your clients immediately.
Okay, so 5 people walk away. They say it's too expensive.
5 people walk away.
Yeah.
You are left with 5 clients, and they are now paying $2,000 each. What is your total revenue?
It's still $10,000.
Exactly. You are making the exact same amount of money, but you are doing half the work. You have half the administrative bloat, half the stress, half the emails.
And I have all this free time now to actually find better clients or just improve my skills.
Or just rest. The scarcity mindset tells you that losing a client is a tragedy, but the math tells you that losing the wrong client is actually a strategy.
That is a massive reframe for me. Losing clients can be a strategy.
And that strategic loss leads us perfectly into the third fear, which is the big one, imposter syndrome.
Oh, the classic. Who am I to charge this much?
I'm just a freelancer working from my kitchen table. Everyone else out there is more qualified than me. But here is the counterintuitive finding from the research that I found most fascinating. Pricing low actually feeds your imposter syndrome.
Wait, how? I would think pricing low takes the pressure off. Like, hey, I'm cheap, so you can't be mad if my work isn't perfect.
You would think that. But think about the type of client you attract with those low prices. The source calls this the quality filter effect.
Oh, the nightmare clients.
We've all had them. The bargain hunters.
The ones who email you at 11 p.m. on a Saturday asking for a font change.
Exactly. And why do they do that? It's not necessarily because they are evil people. It's because for them, that $500 they paid you is a massive amount of money.
Right, it's a huge risk for them.
Yes, they are stressed about it. They cannot afford to lose that money. So they micromanage you. They question every single decision you make. They introduce what the source calls friction.
And that constant questioning, that constant pushback makes you feel like,
Like an imposter.
right, you start thinking, man, this is so hard. Maybe I'm just not good at this.
But the problem isn't your skill level. The problem is that you attracted a highly anxious client by signaling a low price.
So conversely, high prices filter those anxious people out.
Exactly. The high-price client is usually spending a budget that isn't their own personal savings. Or they are a serious business owner who understands that this is an investment. They do not have the time or the desire to micromanage you. They are literally paying you to take the problem away from them.
You know, the source also mentioned that high-paying clients are often much faster to make decisions too, which feels completely backward. You'd think someone writing a huge check would agonize over it for weeks.
It's all about skin in the game. If they're willing to pay a premium price, they are highly committed to the outcome. They want to move fast.
Oh.
They aren't looking for a bargain. They were looking for a result.
So to sum that up, high prices bring clarity and speed. Low prices bring drag and friction.
That is a perfect summary.
Okay, I want to pivot here because there's someone listening right now who is nodding along, but they have a very specific objection forming in their head. They're thinking, this all sounds great for established experts or business consultants, but I'm a graphic designer or I'm a front-end coder. I produce a tangible, standard thing. There is a known market rate for that thing. If I charge double the market rate, I'm not a premium option. I'm just absurdly expensive.
That is honestly the most common objection to this entire philosophy, and it is completely valid if you keep selling exactly what you are currently selling.
What does that mean?
If you are hitting a market ceiling on your price, the source says it is because you are selling time or you're selling deliverables, you're selling a commodity.
Like, I will design you one logo, or I will write you 3 SEO blog posts.
Exactly. And commodities are always in a race to the bottom. Someone somewhere will always do it cheaper. If you want to break through that price ceiling, you have to shift your entire business model. You have to move from selling time to selling transformation.
Transformation. It sounds a little woo-woo, to be honest. Like, I need to light some sage and chant before I send an invoice.
It does sound a bit spiritual, but it's actually pure cold math. It means moving to value-based pricing.
Okay, let's make this really concrete for the listener. The source used a software developer example that I thought was incredibly strong. Can we walk through that scenario?
Absolutely. Let's say you are a freelance developer. A client comes to you and says, hey, I need a Python script to automate this daily data entry task we do.
Okay, simple enough request.
You look at the scope and think, okay, that'll take me about 10 hours to code and test. If you charge an hourly rate of, say, $100, which is a very decent rate, you send them a quote for $1,000.
And the client probably says yes immediately, and you make a quick $1,000. Everyone's happy, right?
But are they? Let's look at the actual value of the thing you just built. What does that script actually do for the client's business? Let's say that manual data entry task was taking their lead manager 5 hours every single week.
Okay, so that's 250 hours a year.
Right. And let's say that manager's time is worth $50 an hour to the company. That little script you wrote just saved the company $12,500 in the first year alone. Over a 5-year horizon, that is over $60,000 in created value.
Wow. Okay, put like that, it's staggering. So I just sold a $60,000 solution for $1,000.
Exactly. You captured less than 2% of the actual value you created. You were vastly underpriced, even though your hourly rate of $100 felt totally fair to you.
So in a value-based pricing model, what do you actually do? You can't just go to the client and say, hey, that saves you 60 grand, so give me half.
No, you don't say give me half, but you anchor your proposed price to the $60,000 outcome, not the 10 hours of typing. You say to the client, this automated solution will save your team roughly $60,000 in wasted labor over the next few years. The investment to build and implement this system is $10,000.
And to the client, trading $10,000 to get $60,000 back is still an absolute no-brainer. It's an incredible return on investment.
Exactly. But for you, the developer, you just made $1,000 an hour instead of $100 an hour.
But the actual coding effort didn't change at all, only the positioning changed.
And notice the massive shift in the dynamic there. You aren't just a coder anymore. You aren't hired help trading hours for dollars. You are a strategic consultant solving a five-figure business problem.
But doing that requires a completely different kind of conversation up front, doesn't it? You can't just take an order like a drive-through.
No, you have to diagnose the business. You can't just ask, what feature do you need me to build? You have to ask, what is this specific problem costing your business every month? What happens if you don't fix this?
You essentially have to get them to do the math on their own pain.
Precisely. You stop asking the market to value your labor, because frankly, the market will never value your labor, and you start asking them to value their own success.
That is the key distinction right there. Clients do not care about your time. They only care about their own results.
And if you can articulate their desired result better than they can, and then attach a price tag that is merely a fraction of that result, you become underpriced in the best possible way. You become a high return investment for them.
This makes so much logical sense on paper, but I want to bring it back to the actual moment of truth. The listener is pumped up. They are ready to try this. They are ready to raise their rates tomorrow. How do they know if they have gone too high? Or if they are still playing it too safe and pricing too low? Is there a clear litmus test?
There is a test. And it is the kind of test that is going to make your stomach turn a little bit. The source calls it the no hesitation rule.
I have a feeling I am not going to like this rule.
The rule is very simple. If no one hesitates when you tell them your price, you are too cheap.
Oof. See, that goes against every single instinct I have as a freelancer. I always aim for the easy yes. I want them to say, sure, sounds great, immediately so I can stop sweating and just get to work.
That easy yes is a wonderful dopamine hit, I grant you. But it is terrible for your business. It means you left money on the table. But much more importantly, it means you have not yet found the ceiling of your true value. The source argues that you actually want friction in that moment. You actively want that awkward moment of silence on the phone.
You mean that terrible pause where you instantly want to start backpedaling and apologize?
That is exactly the pause.
Okay.
And whatever you do not apologize. That pause is incredibly healthy. It means the client is actually doing the math in their head. They're weighing the value. They're thinking, okay, this is a serious investment now. Is it really worth it?
And if they take that pause and then decide it is worth it,
then you have successfully positioned yourself upward. You are now operating right at the limit of their comfort zone, which is exactly where professional growth happens for both of you.
it's funny. We talked about confidence earlier. And I think most of us wait to feel confident before we raise our prices. We think, okay, once I have 5 years of experience or once I win this big industry award, then I'll finally feel ready to charge premium rates.
But the research suggests the causality there is completely backward. You do not wait for confidence to raise your price. You raise your price in order to build the confidence.
So it's like send the signal before you feel the feeling.
Exactly. Think about the psychology of it. When you send a proposal with a number that genuinely scared you, let's say you double your normal rate, what happens the exact moment they say yes?
You panic.
You panic.
Yes.
You panic, and then you step up. You think, oh, wow, they paid it. I really have to over-deliver now. You become vastly more attentive to the details. You do much better work. You unconsciously step into the shoes of the high-level professional who commands that number.
So the high price actually functions as a forcing mechanism to level up your own skills.
It forces you to become the person who is worth the price. It is a brilliant self-fulfilling prophecy. If you wait until you internally feel ready, you will be waiting forever. Imposter syndrome moves the goalposts every single time you get close to them.
That is so true. The goalposts are totally on wheels.
Pricing is your anchor. You throw the anchor out far ahead of where you currently are, and then you pull yourself toward it.
This has been such a dense deep dive, but in the absolute best way. I feel like we have taken apart the entire engine of how we get paid and looked at all the pieces.
It's a lot to process. But if we zoom out and look at the logical chain here, it is really powerful. Price isn't just a number on a PDF invoice. Price is positioning. Your price determines exactly where you sit on the shelf in the client's mind.
Right. Are you the generic store brand or are you the luxury brand behind the glass?
Exactly. Positioning, then, shapes perception. It tells the client how to view you as a risky, cheap option that needs to be managed, or a confident expert who can take the wheel. And finally, perception drives your actual revenue.
So if you want to change your revenue, you have to change their perception. And to change their perception, you have to fundamentally change the signal you are sending out.
And the really beautiful thing about all of this is you completely control the first link in that chain. You cannot control the broader economy. You cannot control a client's specific budget. You certainly can't control inflation. But you have absolute 100% control over the number you type into that proposal.
That is the truly empowering part of this whole philosophy. We aren't just passive victims of the market, we are active participants in shaping it.
And remember, this applies to everyone listening. Whether you are a freelance graphic designer, a corporate consultant, or even if you are an employee sitting in HR negotiating a salary for a new job, the core principles of signaling and value transformation are universal. If you signal low value, you will inevitably receive low value in return.
Before we wrap this up, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final thought to mull over. It's something that wasn't explicitly written in the text of the source material, but it kind of hovered over everything we read and discussed today. We spent a lot of time talking about what your price tells your clients.
Right. It signals authority and confidence to them.
But what is your current price telling you? If price is a signal and you are constantly discounting yourself, quietly knocking 20% off just to be safe, what message are you reinforcing to your own brain about your worth every single time you hit send on an invoice?
That is a profound question. You are reinforcing the idea that you are just a commodity, that you are lucky to even get the work.
Exactly. And if you tell yourself that exact same story for 10 years, you are going to start to believe it deep down. So maybe the very first person you need to convince with your new higher pricing isn't actually the client. It's you.
We really are the first audience of our own signaling.
If you want the rest of the world to believe in your work, you have to put a price tag on it that shows you believe in it first. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
See you in the next one.